Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's quick tip and trick series, we're going to be talking about Ronin and a couple of things that I think people are kind of glossing over when it comes to discussing. The main thing that people keep in mind is, yes, you switch stances, you build cruelties, entering the first stance shrugs of the debuff, and you get lots of bleeds. Level 3 is Fury, and that's pretty much the extent of kind of like an average idea that is currently floating about Ronin. But there are a couple more things that are definitely quite noteworthy and useful. Well, number one is the fact that he's actually quite decent against bleed immunes, because he can play completely differently and he will still gain cruelty passives every time he would trigger a bleed, but they are immune. He gets that cruelty passive, therefore you can completely bypass that whole dancing about thing. And what does that mean? That means that you are able to maintain the same stance throughout the entire fight without the need to change. Why is that important? Because the first stance is actually quite impressive and definitely by far the most useful. That extends your parry duration because it increases your perfect block chance, which is what we're going to see on the screen in a second. And it also basically lets you parry projectile attacks, which is becoming more and more useful when facing opponents like Iron Man Infinity War or Ebony Maw or you name it, basically. So there is a quite bit of usability to that first guard stance. It might not provide the best damage output, however, it can provide you a fair decent amount of control in otherwise fairly difficult fights. And we are going to be taking a look at a fight against Iron Man Infinity War in a variant 1, so he's going to be fairly stacked. And obviously he's bleed immune, and there's also a bleed immunity node to make him fully bleed immune. Therefore, it's going to be a fairly good demonstration. One thing I'm not going to be able to show off is going to be his signature ability and how well that works against bleed immune opponents, because you pretty much always have those 7 cruelty stacks active. But for the purpose of this demonstration, so we are up against Iron Man Infinity War. And we can see that as soon as we enter the first state, the first stance, we already have 4 cruelties at this point, and they're just going to keep on going up without us having to do anything in particular. So that does make him quite a bit easier to use and still gives you pretty much a full benefit as if you were actually changing these stances. But by staying in the guard stance, you always have access to parry, which is extremely useful against Iron Man Infinity War. And additionally, obviously, you can just simply build to level 3 without kind of like much faffing about. Now, we did change stances here in order to have access to that precision buff to increase our crit rate quite a bit and shorten this fight by a bit. And now we are going for our level 3 to just have a bit better damage output, because even though you are quite well covering the deficit of bleed damage via that increased stacks of cruelties and increased uptime of that, you still kind of want to maximize out your damage output. And yeah, so we are going for level 3, have that Fury buff. As we can see, we're definitely hitting a fair amount harder now with that. And the fight is really simple and controlled. There is no need for taking a lot of block damage. There's no need for any wacky intercepts or dashback intercepts. And you can comfortably parry, do a medium light medium combo, which in Ron's case is 4 hits, and all of that is within a stun duration. So when you are facing away champions who happen to be on bleed immune nodes, this, or just any away champion in general, this can work extremely well for you, because you can comfortably land your 4-hit combos within a parry stun, and it also lets you completely pretty much bypass a limber. So staying in guard stance is always a great idea against opponents who have limber as well. So yeah, that is pretty much the main things that I wanted to showcase here about Ronin. The fact that you can parry projectiles extremely easily, you can maintain it throughout the entire fight, and also the fact that you build up these cruelties effortlessly against bleed immune opponents, and you kind of cover loss of bleed damage via simple increase in uptime of your cruelty buffs. So here I was waiting for his last armor buff to expire, drop a level 3, which is going to leave him at 1% health, so that level 3 does provide actually quite decent amount of damage. And then we're just gonna parry him one more time and finish out the fight. That will be pretty much it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was something you had forgotten or maybe you were unaware of, but either way, that will do for today. Don't forget to hit all the buttons, like, share, subscribe, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya.